On a quiet Tuesday night inside one of America's fastest-growing restaurant chains, a waitress made a decision that would cost her everything. She looked at the man sitting alone in a corner booth, faded jacket, worn-out wallet, careful with every dollar, and decided he didn't belong. In front of a full dining room, she questioned whether he could even afford the steak he ordered. A few customers laughed. Others looked away. The man said very little. He simply listened. What no one in that room understood was that he wasn't a struggling retiree. He was the founder, the majority owner, the reason the lights were even on. Stories like this have surfaced before in American business culture, where executives quietly visit their own locations to see the truth for themselves. And on that night, a 5-minute exchange would expose far more than one person's attitude. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Tonight, we're breaking down how a public humiliation turned into a corporate reckoning that no one saw coming. Who was this man, and why did he walk into his own restaurant dressed like someone counting his last dollars? Why would a multi-millionaire founder choose a quiet booth in a suburban location instead of announcing his arrival from the head office? And what was he really looking for that night? Across the Midwest, founders have been known to quietly visit their businesses, a practice widely reported in American corporate culture to measure service without warning. This time, the man we'll call Ethan Cole, a self-made entrepreneur in his early 60s, decided to see things for himself. Across the dining room stood Brittany Hale, 29, ambitious, sharp-tongued, and fighting to move up in a competitive industry. Between them was more than a dinner check. It was a test. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Because this wasn't just about one rude comment. It was about culture, leadership, and what pride can quietly destroy. Ethan Cole grew up in a working-class town in Ohio, the kind of place where paychecks were tight and pride ran deep. In 1987, he opened a small roadside diner with second-hand equipment and handwritten menus, building it shift by shift, plate by plate. While competitors borrowed heavily to expand, Ethan refused debt, choosing slow, steady growth, a strategy often praised in American business circles for protecting long-term control. Decades later, his chain stretched across the Midwest, yet he still drove an old pickup and wore plain jackets, quietly visiting locations without notice. Ethan believed you learn more about people when they don't know who you are, and that belief shaped the culture of his company. Meanwhile, Brittany Hale worked double shifts, chasing tips and recognition, feeling overlooked and recently warned about her sharp attitude. To Brittany, appearances meant everything, and customers were judged in seconds. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. That night, their paths were about to cross, and the lesson waiting inside that restaurant would change more than one career. Then Ethan walked in. The bill arrived, and Ethan opened his worn wallet with steady hands, counting what looked like small bills as the room carried on around him. Brittany watched, then let out a quiet laugh that carried farther than she intended. "Sir, if you can't afford it, maybe this isn't the place for you." A nearby table fell silent. Forks paused midair. She leaned closer and added, "We're not a charity." In restaurants across America, moments like this have been captured on phones and shared online, reminders of how quickly judgment can turn public. Ethan lifted his eyes, his expression unreadable, and replied with just 2 words, "I see." It wasn't anger. It wasn't embarrassment. It was something else entirely, and it settled over the table like a warning no one understood yet. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. What happened next would reach far beyond that single check. For a moment, no one moved. Then Ethan reached into his jacket and placed a black corporate card gently on the table. It wasn't flashy, just a small piece of plastic that carried quiet authority. The shift manager hurried over, glancing at the name, then leaning in to whisper. What he heard made him straighten instantly. The color drained from his face as recognition set in. In companies across America, founders are known to visit their own locations without warning, a management practice often discussed in business reports to measure real service standards. This was one of those visits. The manager cleared his throat and said, "Sir, Mr. Cole, we didn't know you were visiting tonight." Brittany stood frozen, trying to process the name she had only seen in corporate emails and framed mission statements. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. In that instant, the power in the room shifted completely, and the consequences were only beginning. By sunrise, the story had already reached corporate headquarters. An emergency meeting was called, and security footage from the dining room played on a loop inside a quiet conference room. HR began interviewing servers, hosts, and shift supervisors, asking the same question in different ways. Across the restaurant industry, internal reviews like this are standard practice when customer complaints escalate, and this location had more than a few. As statements were collected, a pattern started to form. Brittany had been mentioned before in guest feedback: short temper, dismissive tone, rushed interactions. Online reviews describing rude service had quietly lowered the store's regional ranking for months. But Ethan wasn't angry about the insult. He was angry about what it represented. It wasn't a single comment that concerned him. It was a culture slipping in plain sight. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. What he uncovered next would force a decision far bigger than one employee. Instead of issuing a termination letter, Ethan asked Brittany to sit across from him in a quiet conference room. He played the security footage without commentary, letting the silence stretch as her own words filled the space. Then he asked a simple question: "Why did you say that?" At first she tried to explain it away, but the weight of the moment caught up to her. She spoke about double shifts, mounting bills, exhaustion, and the feeling of being invisible in a system that measured her worth by tips and table speed. Across the service industry, burnout has become a common headline, with staff shortages and pressure shaping behavior in ways companies often overlook. Ethan listened, then said, "You judged me in 5 seconds. That's what's killing this company." The room expected a dismissal. Instead, he turned to the regional manager and ended his employment. Culture starts at the top. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. 6 months later, the restaurant had a new rhythm. Brittany had completed the company's hospitality training and earned a promotion to shift lead, her confidence growing as customers noticed the change. Online reviews began to improve, praising attentiveness and friendly service, a stark contrast to the complaints that had haunted the store before. Ethan continued his quiet visits, slipping in unnoticed, observing without interference, a reminder that leadership doesn't always need a spotlight. In America, wealth doesn't always wear a suit. Power doesn't always announce itself. And sometimes, the biggest lesson isn't about money. It's about respect. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Looking back, the question remains: if you had been in that restaurant that night, would you have acted differently, or would pride have blinded you too?